Lore Together is proud to be part of the Boss Rush Games Network. Feel free to find out more at bossrushgames.com/network. Hi, I'm Safi.
And I'm Mystic.
And this is Lore Together. This is the podcast where a husband and wife team go over all the storytelling, world building, and characters of video games because it's what we like to do together. We lore together.
Yep, and this is episode 102.
Hey, solidly in the 100s.
Yeah.
I will be saying that probably for the next 10 episodes because I still can't believe it.
Can you believe it? If you
know.
can, contact us. Bad segue. If you'd like to contact us, you can do it in multiple different ways. Twitter, Instagram, Mastodon, Reddit, YouTube, and Steam, all down in the description below. You can also email us. loretogether@gmail.com is the address. And if you support the podcast, there are two ways you can do that. First is giving us a thumbs up, 5 stars, like, whatever it is. Wherever you're listening, we appreciate it. The other way is through Patreon at patreon.com/loretogether, where you can pay a per episode pledge to get early access to episodes, early access to our Let's Plays, which I will finally start doing again, exclusive access to our mini episodes, which we have one coming out in just a couple days, and more.
Yes. So thank you, patrons, for supporting us. And thank you, everyone who are listening. And this is going to be an episode where Safi is loopy because I am running on so little sleep, thanks to little buddy. But we're going to try, and I don't know how much guessing you expect me to do, Mystic.
Do you want to guess, or do you?
I wanna crawl into bed with a blanket, but we have an audience but we appreciate you. Don't
Okay.
feel like you've forced me into an audience, but more like
Let's see if you can just guess. You probably won't, but this is a 2018 game.
Okay.
It is 2D pixel based.
Okay.
And the first time I ever saw it was on somebody's Nintendo Switch.
Okay, it's not the one I was thinking of. Oh. Don't know.
Okay, this is a game called Dead Cells.
I feel like I know of this, but it's not coming to my mind right now.
2018 game by Motion Twin and Evil Empire.
I feel like I know of Motion Twin, maybe?
I don't know.
Okay.
As I said, it's a pixel-based game. It's a pixel-styled 2D platformer, roguelike, dungeon crawler, Dark Souls-like game.
How many qualifiers are we putting in this
There's a lot
game?
of genre qualifiers, so let's break it down. 2D platformer, easy.
Yes, we know
All right.
what that is.
Roguelike, for those who don't know, is a term coined by the creation of the 1980 game Rogue. It's kind of the first game where people really had to play through randomly generated dungeons.
Okay. All right.
All right. Clearly, things have advanced since then. Rogue was a top-down, ASCII-based
Okay.
2D
Yeah.
game. This is a awesome pixel graphic side view type thing, turning into this roguelike into what is called a Metroidvania title.
Yeah, and I know what Metrovania is because essentially it's a side-scrolling run-through.
Giant map,
Kill the monsters.
get upgrades, all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The hook of the genre these days is the pseudo-permadeath mechanic.
Oh.
And it's a difficult game, hence the Dark Souls-like genre qualifier, although that gets misattributed about as much as Walking Simulator does.
Yeah, because I think when people think that it's hard, they immediately refer it to Dark Souls. But Dark Souls is a very specific kind of difficult.
Yeah, this is that difficult, but this is one of those difficult games that thankfully also respects your time and gives you the ability to change the gameplay to your liking at the cost of some rewards. So you can say, hey, I want to do full damage, but I want the enemies to do half damage or quarter damage or 10% damage. You know, your time is yours to play with. You don't get achievements. Oh, well. Like,
can you tell we're parents because like we don't have hours to just try to beat a game
also,
and be the bestest gamer.
we may not always play at what people call narrative difficulty.
Yeah.
But I can certainly appreciate being there because the point of a game is for people to enjoy it.
Right.
So if you want to have the really hard difficulty, great. If you want to have a really easy difficulty, that should be an option.
Yes. No, I agree. And of course, when you think of it as an art forms should be accessible to everybody. So we can't just make it exclusive.
Yeah.
I think ethically, that's kind of where I land personally. I might also be thinking about this too hard because I'm tired. So
The game finds us playing as the prisoner,
just the prisoner.
the fallen one, or if you want what I find to be the best name, the beheaded.
I'm sorry, what? Do we have no head?
We don't, but technically we're not even the humanoid form that we will be encompassing. We are a gelatinous creature with a single big glowing eye that can control a human corpse by kind of like shuffling into it.
Well, are we like those little like brain slugs that we see in Futurama?
Not quite that clean.
Oh. Ooh.
And it can control human corpses, ideally those without a head. So
That sounds like it'd be easier. Mm-hmm.
yeah, we kind of have no idea where they came from. Just that it was likely created in a lab on the Undying Shores.
The Undying Shores.
Yes.
Already creepy.
Yeah, the beheaded has no ability to speak, but we do get a lot of expressions from the body and internal monologue, so at least we get all of our lore and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we also know that they're kind of a bit of a jerk towards others sometimes, but also does have some remorse and humility, being angered at cruel orders from the king, expressing remorse at a guard killed by the Malays, etc. On the topic of the Malays, we're back to another plague episode.
I'm not happy, guys. Not happy.
Because the malaise is a plague and has quite the list of symptoms. Itchiness, belly aches, feeling down, hence malaise, headaches, and blurred vision, and always results in death.
You guys didn't see the cynical smile that Mystic just gave me from across the room. Like, this is like he was selling it from an old TV commercial. It always results in death.
Yeah. Apart from this, the malaise has also been known to cause mutations in both the living and the dead, and reanimating the dead into bloodthirsty monsters.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
This is a very weird. I do not like the fact that if I was itchy and had a bellyache, I couldn't just be like, oh, I'm just allergic to that pineapple. That's just not great.
It's all pineapples.
It's all pineapples from here, guys.
I like that phrase, actually.
I actually used that at an old job once whenever something was like ridiculous. Like, this is pineapples. It's absolute pineapples. Just because it's a weird word.
Much like the prisoner, we don't know where exactly the malaise came from, though it is suspected to come from the slumbering sanctuary's sap, which infested the sewer network under the prison a chunk of the game takes place in.
Okay.
There is little to go off of when it comes to what the island had been like before the malaise outbreak. Kind of everything kind of starts with the malaise in the lore we have. We do know it was somewhat prosperous.
Okay.
Yeah. The island had been ruled by the king and queen who resided in the High Peak Castle. The gates of the castle were defended by a giant, usually referred to as the giant. Mm-hmm. The interior of the castle was defended by the royal guards, and the royals themselves protected by the hand of the king and the servants.
Okay. The hand of the king, I'm assuming, is some sort of fighter type
Yeah.
dude? Okay.
Beyond the High Peak Castle is the Stilt Village, where the lower class citizens of the island resided. There, they would spend most of their time fishing, both as a primary food source and also one of the main pleasure activities.
Island living.
Yeah. Occasionally, some villagers also managed to retrieve crystals from the cavern to sell, though how they obtained the crystals is never mentioned, but it's quite a feat as the cavern is quite deadly.
That's fair. Yeah.
Things quickly changed after a sudden deadly illness spread across the island of the aforementioned malaise.
Malaise. I feel like when you say it, you can't just say malaise. You got to say the malaise.
The malaise.
We won't do this the whole episode, guys.
I'll forget to, so I'm not going to even bother. In an attempt to contain the infection, the king went a little overboard.
Uh-oh.
He ordered the imprisonment and execution of anyone who was infected.
But how do we determine somebody's infected?
And even those who were only suspected of being infected were also hanged.
Oh my gosh, I could be just ashy, scratching my knee, and then somebody is like, she has the plague! She has the malaise! That's not good. Just get lotion, everybody. Just put some cocoa butter on it.
The king ordered the prison warden to stop working the gates of the prison and basically keep everyone inside, even if they finished their stint.
Uh-oh.
This, of course, led to an overpopulation of the incarcerated.
Oh, yeah. Duh.
So when the cells began getting kind of jammed full, the king ordered the guards to use outside jails and hanging cells, and also basically told them to work harder, telling them to leave no prisoner unguarded. Do you see that there's a problem here?
Oh, yeah. Oh, we all know what kind of problem this is going to be.
The king's orders understandably confused the guards as they began to wonder why they were transferring sick villagers to the prison and not getting them treatment. Because of this, the guards were threatened with execution if they failed to obey the king's orders. So basically, a lot of people are dying because the guy in charge is over his head.
Yeah, this is why we, being those who have now survived a plague of sorts, have a lot of respect for people who are experts in their field advising stuff and not just people who are like, hey, I have power.
Yeah.
This sounds like a good idea. I'm powerful enough. Let me do this good idea. No, guy. Like, did you do the research? Did you read the studies? Did you actually even, go to school for this?
Yeah.
Expertise is
Have
important.
you looked
have
in
to
a
respect
microscope yourself?
Yeah.
And
do you understand virology and epidemics and those and like the anyway, I could go on.
Or did you
forever.
learn it from a YouTube ad?
Yeah, I like how you specify ad. It's not even a YouTube video. It's an ad of the video that you were trying to. I was just trying to watch the speed run of Rainbow Road, and suddenly.
Yeah. I've seen so many bad YouTube ads since YouTube changed it. Anyway, that's yeah.
Let's continue on with the game.
And yes, I'm aware of what ad blocker is.
Yeah, we both are.
Inside the prison, the prisoners wrote on the cell walls, basically leaving treatises and stuff. Basically, why are a bunch of innocent people and sick people being shoved here with people who are criminals and who are violent and who are whatever?
Yeah.
And it's clearly insane. None of these people want to die, and this is clearly becoming the epicenter, if not the source, of the illness.
Yep. Sounds unfortunately familiar in history.
Yep, we are definitely before germ theory at this point.
Yep.
And this is a very stylized game, and it's not realistic in character sense. You have weird looking characters, different races and everything. So
I would hope so, with a one-eyed blob that literally hops onto decapitated bodies.
Look, Plague Tale: Innocence had the swarms of rats to...
That was way too real for me. If any of you watched the live stream, I got to a point where I was like, I feel like I'm actually defending my real life brother. I need to go. This is no longer fun for me. This is now way into anxiety territory.
But at the same time, rat tornadoes.
I would never make it to that point. I could never get to that absurd moment because the first part of it is very real.
That's true.
Very, very visceral. Anyway, this one, I'm glad to hear, will not be the same kind of experience.
Yeah, this is it's more cartoony.
I'm here for that.
Which is weird, but... Yeah.
I can deal with it, yeah.
Eventually, given the guard limitations and size of the prison population, the prisoners began escaping.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They dug tunnels into the sewers or got up to the promenade, climbed the ramparts. However, these escapes always resulted in death, either due to exhaustion, starvation, or at the hands of the warden had they actually gotten as far as the bridge.
Yeah, the last, essentially, means of escape.
Yeah.
There we go.
Because of his actions, the giant actually confronted the king, warning him that his actions would bring ruin to the kingdom.
That's a pretty smart giant.
Yeah. The king, however, every problem is a nail, and this king has a hammer like that.
No, not to the giant.
The king ordered the giant to be executed and have his body thrown into the prison quarters. In fact, when you start the game, you like drop down from this pipe onto the floor and then you kind of scurry to a body. But when you drop down from this pipe, next to you, there's this giant skeletonized body.
What the actual heck, dude?
Yeah.
How did they even kill him? I mean, I think about some of those unfortunate situations where you see elephants getting hunted or killed, and it's just that, oh man, it takes forever because they're just, when you get a creature that big, you have to imagine a giant. Their skin's thicker, their organs are bigger, they can take more damage. It takes a lot more to take out anything that's any living being that size. So that must have been torture. Oh man.
The king, needless to say, continues to be a man out of his depth, making some absolutely terrible decisions.
Yeah.
Also has a serious complex. Like,
well,
how dare you question me?
I think it all stems from anxiety, right? So we have to.
So the king needs therapists.
Well, yes, but let me explain myself. Just thinking about the pressure to run a whole kingdom and make sure everybody's happy, and you have very limited resources, and you're trying to discern, what will help, and also if everybody's at least at a good level of satisfaction, you're not going to have anybody trying to usurp the throne or trying to, secede from the nation or everything. Like, your power stays intact to a certain degree because you keep everybody happy. And this plague comes in and you don't have any of the knowledge as to why it works. So for you, it's just this mystical entity that's killing people and you're trying to find somebody to blame. So let me blame the incarcerated and the people who are already sick. And what do I do to punish those people? I put them in prison. Prison has solved this before. Why wouldn't it solve it again? And therein lies the folly of the king trying to... So there's definitely some anxiety because it's not going away. And as you said, hammer, nail.
Yeah.
That's all he knows. He doesn't have anything else. He doesn't have a virologist coming in and being like, so how we do quarantine is...
Well, he will get help. We'll see. But we'll have to get there first. So within the village, the villagers revolted.
Okay, that's fair.
Kind of saw that coming.
Yeah.
They started with vandalizing the statue of the king, destroying and defacing his posted orders, and even demanding his death. Fair enough.
Yeah, off with his head.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
This led to nights of violent and bloody riots.
Yeah, that sounds accurate.
After which, the guards condemned a wing of the prison, the ossuary, to dump corpses into once the graveyard became full, and also began to burn the bodies there in an attempt to dispose of them. However, the bodies just continued to pile up endlessly, and burning them was actually not working well enough. In case you've forgotten this symptom, the corpses were reanimating before they could be burned and actually began acquiring weapons.
So we have sentient corpses now.
Yes.
Okay. Well, all right. Zombies, here we are, officially.
As we said, as I said, the king does have some help. A sorceress called the Timekeeper has resorted to controlling time, executing infected, and keeping the malaise at bay as best as she can, although it's taking a large toll on her.
That's got to be a lot of resources for however she gets her power, right?
Yeah, and you can actually see this. Like, her logs basically have her killing fewer and fewer people of the infected each day.
Wow.
Because she just does not have the energy.
Yeah, you
can't
do it. Like, recuperate. I mean, referring back to our own plague, like, healthcare workers are kind of in the same spot.
Yeah.
After they got burned out because of plague, and now we're like, okay, plague's gone. And it's like, but I'm still tired.
Yeah.
I'm still exhausted.
The alchemist, every king has an alchemist, alongside the king and the timekeeper, took action against the malaise using scientific means to find a cure. So we had someone trying to use some sort of scientific method.
But isn't alchemy very specifically the research to try to turn any other substance into gold, essentially to make money?
You are thinking about this far more than the label implies. There's also stuff like genes in this game. So there's weird attributes
So
you can
we're
get.
saying alchemist as an archaic way of saying scientist right now. Okay.
He gathered research from all over the island to learn the origin of the Malays and conducted many experiments to combat the Malays using corpses or villagers who volunteered
Oh, wow.
for experiments.
They're like, I'm going to die anyway. So,
Yeah. His research took him to a sanctuary beneath the village. As we said, some believe the liquid sap running through the walls of the sanctuary could have been contaminating the sewer network and thus causing the malaise.
Makes
With
sense.
this knowledge, the alchemist began experimenting with the sap. Over time, he discovered mutations in the infected slowed down when they were submerged in a solution of the sap.
Interesting.
However, the sap provided unpredictable results beyond this.
Is this how we get the Fallen?
Oh, sorry. My brain went back to Shogo for a second, and I thought we were saying like all the terrorists in The Fallen were, yeah. I forgot the beheaded had the name The Fallen one. So,
Oh my gosh. That's fair. But also, just the cross-contamination of, like, genres there is just so night and day. Like, dude, no. But yeah, that's what I meant. Is like, is this how we get the Fallen one?
We will get to how we get to The Fallen later.
Okay.
The alchemist is involved.
That's what I figured.
During the final retreat, when the malaise was at its peak, the king gave the alchemist a wing of the castle to continue his experiments within. Although everything proved to be futile, as the royal guard once protected within succumbed to the infection and the king himself succumbed to the malaise as well. As a final desperate attempt, the timekeeper set the island into an endless time loop containing the malaise to the island and a single day.
And then suddenly, the game is just like, what is it? Outer Worlds?
So
Outer Wilds.
Yes,
Right?
Outer
yeah,
Wilds.
Outer Wilds. That's sorry, I don't
So-
want to misspeak.
This kind of explains how whenever you die, you can just kind of like restart. The day has restarted, basically.
Oh, okay.
So it's within this time loop that we gloop our way into existence and take over a body that we will call home, kind of.
Oh.
As I said, each time we die, we will end up back at the beginning with the locations within each, what they call biome, kind of shuffled around. So that each time you play a game, the map, when you go from, say, one area to another, there, like, that area will always connect to these two places, but within each area, it's just completely randomized.
I kind of also like the idea that there's a country song called A Body Called Home.
We will start in the prisoner's quarters, a rundown, decaying stone dungeon composed of mossy bricks. There are prison cells visible in the background. Most of them have their bars broken.
That makes sense.
Some of the intact cells still house prisoners who are unlucky enough to have survived this long.
Yep.
Yeah. All authority has long since abandoned the prison, either having died here or fled.
Yeah, you're at the point where you're like, no, my life is not worth staying here and doing this horrible job.
Yeah. Then, once we get through the prison's quarters, we can diverge. There's 22 main biomes with the DLC included, and 10 boss biomes, again, with the DLCs included.
Okay.
So we're going to follow one path through the story.
Okay.
There's many variations on this.
Okay.
And those DLC biomes and stuff flesh out the story. Like the giant, we get the story of the giant from one of the DLCs. We get a little bit about the queen. We're not going to touch on the queen, but we get a little bit about the queen in another DLC. So there's...
So the queen was there. We did not just say, oh yeah, there was a queen. I was like, okay, the queen has a story.
Yeah. Honestly, I forgot about her DLC until about an hour before we recorded, so oops.
Oopsies. Sorry, queen. Please forgive us.
Yeah. Before we jump into our actual trek, there is one little tidbit I did want to cover. I found it this interesting. It's not major, but within the lore, there is no mention of gods or deities,
Oh.
save for one thing. And it's one of those things where the gods must be real because it has an effect on gameplay.
Oh.
If you do something to anger the gods, which in this case is opening a cursed chest, which the cursed chests, like, talk to you. They're like, I've been bad, hit me.
Oh,
and then you have to, like, break the chest open. So, opening a cursed chest, picking up a corrupted artifact, which is so tempting. It's worth so much gold. Even eating food under very, not common circumstances, but very certain circumstances, will incur the anger of the gods.
Okay.
And you will get a curse where any damage you take will be an instant death.
Whoa.
And you have to kill a certain number of enemies to lift the curse.
Okay, so you have to atone, essentially.
Yeah, but fighting enemies without getting hit is...
Well, we all know for me
Yeah.
that's impossible, so I'm just going to have to be a goody two-shoes.
But that's it. That's the only mention of divinity in this game. But the gods are surely beings one does not cross, given the fact that they can actually affect you.
And it makes it interesting to put that in the context of there is a plague and the gods care, but they don't care enough to cure the people. So that's an interesting notion to carry throughout the story as well.
I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree. It means that they have to be real because they're willing to enact retribution against you. So if that's true, and they're also willing to keep up with you to see if you atone. So if that's true, that means that they're keeping an eye on most everything. And if you, but so then what did they? So it makes me wonder, what did the king do to deserve the malaise?
So from the prisoners' quarters, we're headed to the Promenade of the Condemned. This blue and dreary area is surrounded by a forest. Among the trees are numerous cages, some broken, and others remain barely intact. This is kind of cages where they kept prisoners outside the prison. Wooden buildings are built into the land, connecting to underground structures via elevators. The once tranquil and natural atmosphere of these woods has been banished by the horrific atrocities committed, and gosh darn it, I have a hard time in this area now I'm playing.
Really?
There are just far too many spikes that I end up falling into.
Oh no.
Yeah. I'm not good at this game. Let me put it that way.
Oh, I don't think I think you'd still do better than I would in the game, which we'll see. Oh,
I did not have the added bonus of being able to change the combat and health and everything settings like you'll be able to.
okay.
That was not if it was a thing back when I played, I don't remember it.
Okay.
So we then make our way up to the ramparts. This series of towers lies high within the sky of the island, rising into the air. The glow of a beautiful sunset does not match the current state of these towers, sadly. After they no longer could hold the prisons, the guards retreated to the ramparts. So there's a lot of people to fight. Now, however, the current state of disrepair is a telltale sign that this retreat did not work that well.
Right.
We head across the Black Bridge, which is a long bridge to the Silt Village, with the warden guards picking up the few prisoners who have made it this far. Not many. The warden is no longer human, though, but rather a mutated creature thanks to infection.
Because everybody's infected now.
Yep.
Everything's a disease. Yay.
Entering the Stilt Village, we find that it's a shell of its former self, and the crows flying around are as numerous as the fish had once been, though the water now is full of blood and gore.
Yuck.
In fact, there are kind of crazed fishermen running around looking for fresh blood to drink because all the blood and water is salty. Yeah.
It's hard for me to. I don't have much to say to that. That's just horrific. Literally horrific.
Yes. Only the buildings with insane scratchings and the dead bodies of the villagers lay here as a reminder of what once was. Climbing up the clock tower in the village, we get a sense here that time is being played with, something that we already know, but this is where we kind of first learn that we're stuck in a loop.
Right. Okay.
We get this basically because the beheaded will remark how it feels like things are speeding up and slowing down and time is moving backwards and forwards. And eventually, up in the clock room, we can find the timekeeper working her intricate control over time. She is one of the main bosses of this run, much like the warden was back on the Black Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
From here, we can head into the castle itself and finally up to the throne room where we fight the Hand of the King, a large and fearsome man and the final boss of most runs of the game. There's a couple DLCs that go a little bit further.
Okay.
But, yeah. Now, this game does play a bit loose with some lore, and sometimes there's stuff that's here for a joke. We're not even going to discuss the Castlevania crossover in terms of story, because that sounds like a nightmare.
Oh, man. Okay.
It'd be like trying to explain the Star Wars crossovers with Soul Calibur, you know?
Oh.
Yeah. Like,
Though it's fun to play, but yeah. Oh.
yeah. I mean, it's not as out of its depth here, but it's crossing. It'd be trying to explain like Street Fighter versus Tekken.
Yeah.
Like, or Marvel, or not Marvel.
Marvel versus Capcom?
Marvel vs. Capcom or Mortal Kombat versus DC. It's like, yes, these things have lore, but they're not part of the overall canon.
It's an excuse to have fun.
Yes.
Is what it sounds like, which is fine. You can totally have that.
Yeah. The DLCs do expand upon the ending a little and actually give us some closure on the whereabouts of the king and who the beheaded one is. When we first encounter the giant, again requiring a DLC, he reveals that the beheaded is the former king, his body lost to the Malays.
Wow.
The giant thinks poorly of the beheaded as he recalls the king's actions, but has great respect for the title at least. When defeated, the giant again expresses frustration and disappointment with the king's actions, then sinks in the lava while calling him an incorrigible ass
Oh, okay.
and giving him the middle finger.
Kids, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that.
The beheaded returns the gesture.
Kids, don't do that.
The giant does not elaborate further on how or why these things happened.
That is the most stereotypical New Yorker exchange ever. That's like F you. No, F you.
But it's presumed that the beheaded is unaware of his nasty doings as the king. Kind of like when we talked about Firmament.
Oh.
When we talk about this is the king died. This is kind of like an experiment that the alchemist did with that body, ends up becoming the beheaded one.
But yet that also gives a chance for some sort of redemption in a new life, a new form, so to speak.
Yeah, but the beheaded has no idea what they did.
But that's the same thing at Firmament too, right?
Yeah.
So it's a similar idea, it's just manifesting in a very different way.
Yeah. So technically the king is alive and at all times, and he and the beheaded are identical beings, and the beheaded always returns if the body is destroyed. So it's kind of no matter, since we're in a time loop.
Yeah.
In the ending cutscene, after all is said and done, the king returns to his restored throne, sipping wine, and exclaims that it was way more fun crawling around the sewers.
Really?
Yeah. So King didn't learn much. However, he is interrupted when a copy of his original self, created by the timekeepers meddling with the time loops,
Yikes.
arrives and mimics basically his various actions. Basically,
You fight yourself.
yeah. But as they engage in combat, the game cuts to its logo, leaving his final fate somewhat ambiguous.
Ah, the true enemy was you the whole time. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
So, yeah, that is... I mean, again, there's a lot more to dive into if we want to go through all the biomes, but we'd be here forever. And
Yeah.
I did kind of cut this episode a tiny bit short because Safi's kind of tired.
Yeah. We could talk more about the biomes as we explore them, though, in the live stream.
Yeah,
though.
I'm not going to give... I can't give you a map when we're doing our live stream, so where you go is where you go.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, I can't. There's no map. It's random.
Oh, it's random generated. Okay. Okay,
So
cool.
you're going to have to find your own way through. We will make it
Man,
an easier...
That sounds like a curse.
We will...
You will find your own way through.
We will make it an easier gameplay session, though, because I know these are a few of your favorite things. Platformers,
Yeah.
difficult combat in 2D spaces, and yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather be fighting in a 3D space, to be honest. I like give me a Hellblade. I can handle that. Even though it's difficult, I can do that.
Yeah.
I would probably do better at Dark Souls than I would at this, to be honest.
We'll get to Dark Souls at some point.
Do we want to? Do we want to just see me die 60 times?
The fun thing
on
I
live
have to
stream?
do, all these games we've covered recently, I played back in the day,
Okay.
but I've never played Dark Souls. beyond like 5 minutes. So I would have to do a blind first hour because I have no idea what the lore is.
I don't even, and oh my gosh, the lore. Okay, so I know about some of the lore because.
Well, don't spoil it for me.
It's,
'Cause I know nothing.
It is dark. Like Dark Souls, yeah, that is a very apt, it's an apt naming convention because essentially like the heavy weight of hopelessness just blankets the entire theme of the game series overall.
Okay, so we'll wait for that one.
Yeah, that's some bleakness right there. It's really, but this doesn't sound nearly as bleak. Just possibly.
It's not nearly as bleak. It's definitely dark, but it's dark in that campy way.
Dark camp. I like some dark camp. I'm here for like some Tales of the Crypt dark camp.
It's a little bit like that. A little bit like Army of Darkness.
Yeah,
it's like that type of
Oh,
camp.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, you have your player character flipping the bird at somebody who just flipped them the bird.
I just love the idea of like this like that's their exchange. Just it's the same exchange two people do when there's a freaking accident on the street and you're in a rush to get home. Like, F you, man. No, F you. Like, guys, the whole kingdom's dead.
Yeah.
It's okay. That's so funny.
And yeah, it's a game that doesn't it's a serious story, but the game doesn't take itself too seriously, but it's not as off kilter as Plague Tale was, where it starts really grounded and serious and then you get rat tornadoes.
You get rat tornadoes. I'm sorry. I'm glad you reminded me of that because it puts the whole first hour I played in context. I was like so upset, and then you're like, rat tornadoes.
This stays more on a level
yeah
tone the whole time.
Okay.
So,
well, yeah, I do look forward to trying it out as much as I just fear that I'm not going to be that good at it. But
we'll make it work.
As long as it's entertaining for you guys. So catch us the Thursday after this is released to the public.
Yeah,
and we'll live stream it.
If you don't catch our stream live, you can always check it out on YouTube afterwards. Mm-hmm. And you can also check out all of our previous Let's Plays. We have Skies of Arcadia and Abduction. Firmament should be up there soon. That's only been for patrons up until now. Dragon Age is up there. Safi is still working on that. I have Lorik's Adventures in Skyrim.
Yeah, and then
Cyberpunk will be going up soon.
Also, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture.
Everybody's Gone to the Rapture.
I don't want to forget about that one. I keep listening to its soundtrack at work. It's so good. Yeah, and also on our YouTube we have our current alternate Thursday live stream of
Mass Effect,
where our patrons make decisions for what our shepherd's going to do.
Yep. Currently, we have a few hours left before our current poll is over. This will, of course, go live after the poll has ended.
Yeah.
But they're currently deciding where we're doing next. Doing Garrus's loyalty mission, Rex's loyalty mission, or a bunch of other side quests.
Quests, because the side quests are actually very important in this game.
Not all of them, but yeah.
Yeah. The first game, the side quests, I think had a lot more weight than than the third one, for sure.
Yeah.
So
the third one, you just need to get your war assets up. Go.
Go. Did you play multiplayer enough?
Oh. Anyway.
All right, guys.
Thank you all for listening.
Thanks so much. We will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.